Welcome to the weekly update. Last week we shot the hourly video for American Small Business Institute. That's the one we do once a month with Roy Williams. In that video we answer questions that people have emailed in during the month, rewrite some ads, have some discussions about ways to improve things. And sometimes we stumble into some really amazing things in addition to just having questions answered, and that happened this month. Roy went over something that was really cool, and it was so good we wanted to share it with the weekly videos to make sure no one missed it. And it was under the topic, why advertising can only be measured at the cash register. So today I've got with me Roy Williams.
The Wizard of Ads.
The Wizard of Ads.
Hey, listen, this idea that advertising can only be measured at the cash register is really alarming to advertising professionals, because everybody involved in any part of advertising has things that they believe can be measured. I mean, CUME audience, average quarter hour audience, reach and frequency, unique visitors, time spent listening, time spent on the website. And it's like everybody has things that can be measured that relate to advertising. They are things that are components in the big picture of advertising, but the effectiveness of advertising, return on investment, can really only be measured at the cash register. And the reason I want to make this incredibly clear is it's something I've been saying for a lot of years, and it goes right over people's heads, or more accurately, they probably just freeze up because it violates their religion somehow. They have to believe that you can hold things accountable much more closely than you really can. Well, Jeffrey Eisenberg and Ryan Deiss recently, when we were talking about, we were doing the class, and it was the changing face of marketing, and they were echoing something that I've been saying literally for 38 years. And they said that Google and Facebook have both recently announced, and remember, these are the two companies in all the world that are able to more tightly target the zero moment of truth. I mean, whenever people are getting ready to make a decision and they're in the moment and they're researching, gathering information, they're getting ready to pull the trigger and buy the product or buy the service, bam, they're going to go on Google, or they're going to be, typing in some search strings, and then pow, it's all going to come up, and then now you pounce. Now, Google and Facebook are both saying, hey, listen, don't think that you can just pop up at the last split second, at the zero moment of truth, and get a good return, because you really need to do some branding ads. You really do need to make sure that your prospective customer has heard of you, knows what you stand for, knows what you believe in, feels good about you, and that you're a household word. Now, they're trying to tell people, don't only target the zero moment of truth. Don't only target that last second. And so see that this is when it's the most easy to convince yourself you're holding your ad budget accountable, because by golly, we're just going to wait until they've decided to purchase it, and then we're going to pounce in there and tell them all about us. Well, if there's somebody else in that category whose name they hear all the time in mass media, they're going to click that one. That's what Facebook and Google both know. Hell, I've been teaching this for 38 years. So let's look at this in a really logical fashion. I want you to do an exercise. This is the exercise. Number one, understand it costs a great deal more money to get a customer in your store or in touch with you the first time than it does the second time. And the second time a customer comes back, it's because they had a good experience the first time. So make sure they have a good experience the first time. Unbelievably cheap and easy to get a customer in for a second, third, fourth visit if they had good experience the first time. Now that we're all on the same page and we understand this idea, and by the way, this is a totally different number for different categories of business, but generally speaking, whenever you do the math, you're going to find that if you're in a business with a good profit margin and a long purchase cycle, maybe you sell furniture, or you sell engagement rings, or you sell insurance, the cost of generating a sale is going to be $350 to $400. I know that sounds terrifying. You think it can't even be possible. But when you're selling high-priced, expensive items that have a long purchase cycle, things that people don't need very often, that's kind of where you're going to find that category. obviously other categories that are purchased more often and at lower profit margins and for smaller prices, they have a lower cost per sale. But I wanted to give you at least one frame of reference so you could kind of know where you are. When you're measuring things that can be measured, okay? You need to be asking yourself these questions. Okay, what percentage of my business comes from repeat and referral customers? I want you to come up with a number. And then you say, what percentage of my revenue, comes from customers who know about us primarily because they drive past our store all the time or our business. They see the sign. We have this great location. We're paying expensive rent. What percentage is primarily aware of you because they see you all the time? And then what percentage of your revenue comes from your advertising-driven customers? The only reason they know about you is through your ads. What you're going to find, and I've been doing this for 38 years, most brick and mortar companies, Daniel, say that 70 or 75%, if they don't know where we're headed with this, and I just ask, so what percentage of your business comes from repeat and referral customers? I would go 70%, 75%, 80%, it's in that range. Mm-hmm. Then I say, how about location driven? And it's usually, like 5 to 15%. And then whenever I say, what percentage of your business, the only reason they know about you is because of your advertising? What percentage of your sales? And it's usually like, 10 or 15 or 20%. And so, heck no, you can't expect to double your sales when you double your ad budget. Now, you're going to hopefully double your advertising only driven customers. And so the 10 or the 15 or the 20% of your business that is ad driven only, yeah, if you're reaching twice as many people with sufficient repetition, and there's a big if, with sufficient repetition and a good ad. So wait a second. You mean even the 10% or the 15 or the 20% that I know are ad driven, by doubling my ad budget, I can't even be certain I'm going to double that? That number. So no, because we have to have some question about the effectiveness of the ads, and are we just buying additional repetition with the same number of customers, or are we buying, and maybe that's exactly what we need to do. You see, we may need more repetition with the people we're already reaching. Or we may have sufficient repetition with the people who are already reaching in our ads, and we need to reach twice as many people for twice as much money. And you got to make sure you're reaching additional people and not just additional repetition with the same people that you were already reaching. See how complicated this gets?
Is it, just to make me feel better as a business owner, per se, is it possible that doing all that advertising to reach the percent that's only going to come because of advertising, I'm also going to be reaching my existing customers, right?
Well, yes.
So is that helpful?
Yes, of course it is. Now remember, this idea of repeat and referral customers, here's where it's utterly impossible to measure. The people who you see over and over and over again, would they have thought of you, and would they have you top of mind? Would you be the first provider they think of and the one they feel best about if they didn't hear your ads all the time? And so there is a benefit. It has a significant impact on repeat and referral business, your ads do, but it literally can't be measured. And anybody that says, well, we're going to figure out how to get the data and we're going to crank out some kind of number, I promise you, there's a million ways to come up with a number, and the number will be crap. It will not be it will not be a reliable number. So just please understand, you have to believe in your message, and you need to have sufficient repetition, and then occasionally you can do something, no matter what media you're using, to ask for an immediate response. It's a direct response ad, and it has to have some built-in urgency, and there has to be a time limit or a volume limit. There's only a certain number of these that's available. And when you have urgency and credibility and relationship, yes, you can bring masses of people running, but you can't do that consistently. You can't do that all day, every day. It's the little boy that cried wolf.
Now, does this change any when we're talking about, per se, mass advertising versus trying to get really targeted advertising?
All right, repeat the question.
So what I mean by this is, if we're talking about, we want to try to grow the percentage of people who are only going to be reached by advertising.
Right.
Does our message change based on whether we want that to go wide and broad, or should we be trying specifically to find only people who haven't heard of us somehow?
Well, it's not possible. No, it's not even possible to only find people that haven't heard of you. These are the kinds of things that we wish could be known that simply can't. So what you have to make sure of is that you're targeting through your copy. What you say is how you target. When you're speaking to the felt need, you're targeting through your message. And people who have that need or have that itch that you're offering to scratch. And so I'm trying to shift the focus, and this is, you will make a lot of money as a business owner if you hear me and you believe me. Shift your focus from trying to target through your media choices. And, oh, by the way, did you read the Procter & Gamble thing that I published recently? The chief marketing officer at P&G said, we targeted too narrow. Mm-hmm. What they were doing is, they still believe in some targeting for sure, to target Pampers, disposable diapers, to women who are pregnant, who just had a baby, yeah, that's good targeting. But to target Febreze air freshener to households that have pets and people who have large families didn't work. What they found out was, and they did this for a few years, they finally realized for most of their products, if they just bought 18 years old and older, unfiltered, untargeted, true masses. If you're over the age of 18, that's all we need to know, we care. And they said that stuff is available so cheap, if you just look at 18 plus numbers. And just remember, every time you add targeting, you're increasing your cost per customer. And the more narrowly you target, whether it's on Google or Facebook or anything else, even television and radio, when you start trying to narrow your target, you're going to pay a premium for what you think are the right people. Mm-hmm. Whenever you take off that filter, and this is what Procter & Gamble proved with the world's largest ad budget and with a staff of tens of thousands of people measuring this stuff, the chief marketing officer recently said, hey, we decided, we were trying to target way, way, way too much. So all of this to say, the total effectiveness of your ad campaign can only be measured at the cash register. And it can't be measured in the short term. It can absolutely be measured in the long term. Daniel, hopefully I didn't confuse the issue. Hopefully I said something reasonably clear.
I think we're good.
Are you satisfied?
Absolutely.
See you guys next time.
See you next week.